Porridge has a bit of a bad reputation, often seen as bland, beige and boring. But I think with just a little bit of effort, we can turn this simple dish into something that's not just delicious, but actually exciting. So today I'll show you 4 of my favorite porridge upgrades and a simple blueprint you can use to come up with your own creative and delicious variations. There are 3 main things we need to consider when trying to improve a dish: taste, texture and visuals. And porridge seems to fall short in all of them. We could take this analysis even deeper, but today let's focus on these 3 main categories. So for each variation I'll show you today, I'll explain how I worked on improving each of these elements. First, let's create the perfect base porridge that we can then build upon. This recipe will yield 1 generous portion. I'm using milk instead of water to get a better taste and creamier texture. Add your oats and your milk to a small saucepan and simmer over medium heat. Season with just a pinch of salt so you can take it in a sweet or savory direction later. Once it thickens to your preferred consistency, take it off the heat and serve. From here you could simply add some fresh toppings and call it a day. But if you want to take your porridge game to the next level, stick around and hopefully get inspired by my approaches. For our first variation, we're going with seasonal fall flavors. First up, let's make our base porridge. Follow exactly the same recipe as before, with an additional pinch of cinnamon and nutmeg. Cook until creamy and keep warm until serving. For our toppings, start by cutting your pear into even slices. Next up, finely chop your rosemary and break up your walnuts. And that's all our prep done. Heat a dry pan over medium heat and add your walnuts. Lightly toast them until fragrant and golden. Make sure to keep them moving so they don't burn, then remove and keep for later. Add a knob of butter to the same pan. Once foaming, add your sliced pear and drizzle with honey. Caramelize until soft and golden and we're ready to assemble. Add your porridge to a bowl and scatter over your roasted walnuts. Carefully place the caramelized pears on top of the walnuts and add a sprinkle of rosemary. Add a final drizzle of honey and a little sprig of rosemary for garnish. And that's our first bowl done. We've brought together some beautiful flavors. The caramelized pear and rosemary add warmth, while the roasted nuts bring texture. Visually, the neatly arranged pears, honey drizzle and rosemary sprig make it look stunning. Let's move on to number 2. For this variation, we're going for a chocolate and berry vibe. For our base porridge, we mix in some unsweetened cocoa powder and a bit of maple syrup. To prepare our toppings, zest about 1/4 of your orange. Next, carefully melt your chocolate. I'm using a heat-proof piping bag, but you can also use a bain-marie or even a microwave. Add your porridge to a bowl and swirl in your melted chocolate. Top with ground almonds and scatter over your raspberries. Finish with a sprinkle of your orange zest and a drizzle of maple syrup. And with these simple steps, we completely transformed our porridge into a rich and refreshing breakfast bowl. The chocolate adds that deep richness, which we balance with the fresh raspberries and bright orange zest. The ground almonds add some nice texture, and visually, the dark chocolate base with pops of red and orange looks absolutely stunning. Next up, we have our savory option. Savory porridge might sound unexpected, but think congee, just with oats instead of rice. This one was inspired by a Swiss Alpine stew. For the base, we substitute about half of the milk with water to lighten it up and add a knob of butter for flavor. When the oats are nice and creamy, stir in the grated Gruyere cheese and keep warm until serving. In a dry cold pan, add your bacon bits and turn the heat to medium. Render out all the fat until they are crisp and golden. Meanwhile, thinly slice your onion and cut your mushrooms into bite-sized pieces. Once the bacon is ready, remove from the pan, then add your sliced onions. Gently fry them off until they are caramelized and sweet. Next up, add a knob of butter to the same pan and add all of your mushrooms. Again, fry until golden, then stir through your thyme and set aside. Finally, bring a pot of water to a gentle simmer and add a splash of vinegar. Crack your egg into a small bowl or cup, then using a spoon, create the vortex in your water. Gently lower your egg into the water and continue to carefully move it around. After 4 to 5 minutes, remove your egg from the water using a slotted spoon. Fill up your bowl with your cheesy porridge and add your beautifully poached egg to the center. Scatter your bacon, onions and mushrooms around your egg and top everything with some freshly cracked pepper. And there you have it, a delicious Swiss-inspired savory porridge. The cheese, bacon and thyme add a ton of flavor to the dish, and the mushrooms bring that satisfying mix of crisp and chew. But the showstopper is definitely the poached egg, transforming this simple bowl into a thing of beauty. Last but not least, we have a bowl full of fragrant spices and amazing flavors. We cook our oats in coconut milk and add a touch of honey for sweetness. But the main flavor and color comes from our added cinnamon, cardamom, pepper and turmeric. Cook until creamy and keep warm until serving. For our toppings, in a warm, dry pan, gently toast your coconut flakes until fragrant. Chop up your pistachios and we're ready to assemble. Add your beautiful yellow porridge to a bowl, then top with your coconut flakes and crushed pistachios. Finish with a drizzle of honey and enjoy. Our amazing spices turn this simple porridge into a warming, aromatic delight. The pistachios add a wonderful crunch and the turmeric coats everything in a warm, golden hue. And there you have it, 4 simple but elevated versions of porridge. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned a thing or two. I'll see you next time, and until then, Agüete.